Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're doing amazing. My name is Shields, and we are doing a fun little history video called The History of Peru, explained in 10 minutes. This is Epimetheus. So yeah, go check that out, and let's jump right in and see what the History of Peru looks like.
The South American nation of Peru has a population of 33 million people. This extremely mountainous country is bordered by the nations of Ecuador and Colombia to the north. To the east, it is bounded by the massive Portuguese-speaking Republic of Brazil and landlocked Bolivia. Chile bestrides the remainder of South America's western coast.
That's a lot more. I did not realize that Chile was also bordering them. They have 5 borders. It's crazy.
Stretching down towards Antarctica. Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana inhabit the remainder of the South American continent. Although the short-lived Inca Empire is the most well-known pre-Columbian state, numerous kingdoms, empires, and city-states inhabited the land, stretching far back into the region's prehistory.
The Inca Empire, we'll do a lot more on them in the future, but not even 100 years? They only lasted 95 years. I thought it was much deeper in history and much longer of a span of time, actually. 1533 coincides with the Spanish landing. It has to, right?
Which provided a strong cultural socio-political foundation for the later Inca. Peru is home to the oldest known city in the Americas, Huarichanga, dated to...
Huarichanga. Or is that what he said?
Peru is home to the oldest known city in the Americas, Huarichanga.
Huarichanga, got it.
Dated to around 3500 BC. This city was part of the Norte Chico civilization, which was centered around a little over a dozen towns and cities. From around 3200 BC onwards.
What is the leading theory of civilization? Was it sea-bearing Polynesians or pro-Polynesians? Does that make sense? Like before the Polynesians, or was it the people that there's literally only 3 options here, right? There's either they were sea-bearing and they landed here. They ran the coast of North America, Central America, down to South America, like from the Bering Strait, the Beringian land bridge. Or 3, which is very formidable, but then going through Panama and then Colombia down.
These settlements were characterized by large communal building projects, including temples, plazas, and stepped pyramids. Their pyramids were built during the same time period as ancient Egypt's pyramids, although on a much smaller scale.
And that's just, isn't that so crazy? It really just comes down to, at that time, there's no way to really create a structure at that magnitude without it being a pyramid, right? You can't. They don't have beams and concrete, necessarily concrete like we have concrete. They definitely could make concrete if they were led the right way. But yeah, because I wanted to call that out because so many people are like, it's kind of crazy how these people are making pyramids and these people are making pyramids and they're in the same, yeah. It really comes down to, this is the structure that you would have to build if you wanted to create a huge structure.
In 2,000 years before the earliest pyramids of Mesoamerica were constructed far to the north. The Norte Chico civilization is highly unusual in history in that they built cities, monumental structures, and irrigation systems, while never creating ceramics. One theory for the demise of their civilization is that their advances in irrigation technology made their ancestral homeland less desirable, compared to relatively nearby alternative sites. As their cities declined, and were eventually abandoned, numerous smaller, well-irrigated settlements over a much larger geographical area spread to the north and south. During the succeeding Kotosh period,
so we got 900 years of that.
Pottery was first developed. The disparate settlements of this period grew into larger cities and coalesced into the Chavín culture. Throughout
Chavín culture, that's a beautiful little piece right there. Is that a bird?
the Chavín period, advances were made in metalworking and farming technology. The effective cultivation of potatoes, quinoa, and maize aided the region's rapid population growth. As increasingly complex urban societies developed, the culture became less egalitarian, with a powerful class of priests and hereditary nobility hoarding wealth at the top. The centuries of peaceful growth and coexistence of the Chavín period gave way to a more culturally regionalized and warlike age. Three rival power centers emerged at Lima, Moche, and Nazca.
So were these very much like a city-state?
Nazca are renowned for the many very large geoglyphs carved into the desert soil they left behind, depicting animals and geometric patterns. Around 400 AD, the city-state of Huari was founded. Huari welcomed migrants from all of the region's cultures and synthesized their spiritual beliefs into a new popular religion. In approximately a century and a half, as the city rapidly grew, Huari came to dominate all of the city-states of the Peruvian coast.
So you get the Huari Empire. That's a decent chunk of time right there.
Perhaps in response to this threat, the city of Tiwanaku, situated near the shores of Lake Titicaca and was now Bolivia, united the previously disunited city-states of the Highland Lakes under its leadership. Although it appears the two empires had a tense relationship, it is generally believed that they never engaged in large-scale invasion of the other, as each side had a considerable defensive advantage.
Yeah, the mountains.
Mysteriously, both empires rapidly fell around the year 1000, and both of their capital cities were abandoned within a few decades of each other. Famine, natural disasters, civil uprisings, plague, and war have all been speculated to have been the cause for this collapse. Perhaps both empires finally fought a war, which destroyed both empires' prestige and internal authority, ensuring mutual destruction. In any case, after both capital cities were abandoned, many previously minor cities rose to prominence. Tiwanaku was succeeded by a loose confederation of prosperous kingdoms, while the Kingdom of Timor asserted its authority over much of the Peruvian coast.
Oh, I just realized what that was. It looks like Minecraft. The Aymara banner. Okay. Oh, that's that. Sorry. That's that very dark orange side right there. The 12 Lake Kingdoms. Okay. That makes sense now. From 1200 to 1438. So that goes all the way up to the Mayan, or not the Mayan Empire, the Incan Empire. And then you got the Kingdom of Timor up there. It goes past the Incan Empire.
As the Huari Empire disintegrated. Around the year 1200, the small city-state of Cusco was founded by the previously unimportant Inca people. For more than 2 centuries, the Kingdom of Cusco expanded its territory very little, while the city prospered and its population grew. Cusco periodically raided its neighbors, and in return, the city was under frequent attack from the neighboring Chanca and Huanca peoples. In 1438, the Chanca invaded Cusco with overwhelming force. The Inca king Viracocha fled the city while his son Panchacuti defended it and defeated the enemy. Viracocha then abdicated the throne to his son Panchacuti, the 9th Sapa Inca. He embarked on several campaigns of conquest, transforming the kingdom into an empire.
Wow.
His successors,
so the realm of 4 parts, Tawantinsuyu,
Tupac, and Huayna Capac, enjoyed long reigns and greatly expanded the empire. The empire was at its height, and was likely inhabited by over 10 million people and growing. Massive building programs had been completed, like Machu Picchu.
Yep, it's obviously the most famous one. And just given the landscape which they built that on, I don't know, it's an engineering masterclass.
An empire-wide system of roads. The empire seemed to be on the brink.
Their Incan road system is almost as impressive, honestly.
Of a golden age, when a strange disease swept through the land. The speed of its transmission was likely aided by the Inca's efficient road system.
Is this smallpox?
3 years earlier, the Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés had completed the conquest of the Aztec Empire. He not only brought guns, horses, and steel with his army. Unintentionally, he also brought with him a more effective weapon, a host of diseases that had never been encountered in the New World. Smallpox, measles, typhus, influenza, and diphtheria all ravaged the Inca Empire in repeating waves. The Sapa Inca, Huayna Capac and his heir, both died from the plague. His sons, Huáscar and Atahualpa, proceeded to fight a brutal 3-year-long civil war. Atahualpa was victorious, but over 100,000 of the empire's best troops perished in the fighting. Then, Francisco Pizarro González, the second cousin of Hernán Cortés, invaded with a small expeditionary band. Pizarro captured Atahualpa during a negotiation, and then tens of thousands of the Inca's malcontented vassals rallied to the Spaniards' cause, particularly the Inca's traditional enemies, the Huanca and the Chanca.
And they did the same thing against the Aztecs, right? They weren't able to just take down the Aztecs. The Aztecs was one of the biggest, greatest civilizations this world has ever seen. Millions in the valley where we now call Mexico City. There's no way they were going to be able to take them on with like 500,000 people, which is what they had. Hernán Cortés, they actually rallied other tribes nearby that did not like the Aztecs. So I'm guessing a very similar playbook is being utilized in this format.
After a massive ransom of gold and silver was paid for Atahualpa's release, Pizarro had him executed. In 1537, Cusco was taken after a 10-month siege. It took 35 more years, 40 in total, to complete the conquest of the Inca Empire. It is estimated.
Oh, and then they go all the way through Argentina, too, at the bottom.
That as much as 95% of the Inca Empire's population died within 50 years of the height of its power.
Jeez.
Although many were slain by war and its horrible side effects, most died from disease.
Yeah, and most were probably enslaved, too. We got to remember that. And they probably died through a combination of just being enslaved and the smallpox and the typhus and everything else. Crazy.
In 1542, the Viceroyalty of Peru had been established, with a capital on the coast at Lima. Under the Spanish Empire, the Viceroyalty of Peru expanded to cover most of the South American continent.
This is just Treaty of Tordesillas at this point, because that line, which is such a harsh drawn line, everything to the right of that is Portugal's by right of the Pope.
Before being broken up into smaller viceroyalties, throughout the Spanish Empire, Peru played a vital role in its finances, particularly one mountain, Potosi. For over a century, more than 60% of the silver mined in the world came from Cerro Potosi, sitting at over 15,000 feet above sea level. Potosi, a city of the same name, became one of the most wealthy and populous cities in the world. It was one of the fastest growing cities in history after silver was discovered there, growing from a few hundred to over 200,000 people in the span of a few decades.
And obviously, they have a very lucrative trade here, sending that stuff back to Spain, and then it's dispersed by merchants throughout Europe. Right, this is the 16th century, so silver is just so important in the feudal system, as well as there's a ton of people in the Germanic area, England, Italy, and then you can trade this throughout the Mediterranean and East. You can barter for spices. Obviously, you have the Ottoman Empire, so it's not as easy as it was before, but this is probably creating more and more wealth for the Spanish than anyone. This is the Viceroyalty of Peru. And, of course, the Spanish Empire is at its maximum capacity in the 16th century.
Later, as silver production slowed, the city declined. During the 18th century, two major rebellions occurred where the indigenous Quechua and Aymara people fought to establish independent territory. Both were...
Juan Santos Atahualpa's rebellion. Okay, it was a 15-year rebellion. Then another rebellion of Tupac Amaru II.
Brutally put down. In 1826, Peru gained its independence from Spain after a 15-year war, which was part of the larger Spanish-American Wars of Independence. Peru and Bolivia joined together to form a short-lived state, which was dissolved after an unsuccessful war with Chile. In all, Peru fought 9 wars alongside and against its neighbors throughout the 19th century. Most were minor border clashes, with the exception of the War of the Pacific, where 35,000 casualties were suffered on both sides.
That's interesting.
Bolivia lost its access to the sea. During the 20th century, Peru had more border clashes with its neighbors, and the Peruvian Republic was largely governed by military junta. Like many other countries, Peru was also the stage for Cold War proxy conflict. Fortunately, over the past few decades, conflict has subsided, while the economy and average standard of living has drastically improved. Stability within the country—
That's a huge decrease, my goodness—
has also meant that archaeology has flourished within Peru. Until relatively recently, very little was known about the pre-Inca civilizations of Peru, like the Moche. In the fascinating documentary, Lord of Sipan, available on this video sponsor, CuriosityStream, the Moche civilization is brought to life by reenactors and beautiful-looking CGI
I gotta check that out.
reconstructions. The Lord of Sipan has been called the King Tut of the Americas, as his tomb has shed light on a little-known age. You can watch The Lord of Sipan on CuriosityStream, a curated streaming service hosting thousands of documentaries and nonfiction titles, covering a wide variety of topics. It is only $2.99 a month, far less than comparable streaming services. The annual plan is a crazy good bargain, at only $20 for a whole year, so go to curiositystream.com/epi. And for my viewers, use the promo code EPI during sign-up to get—
I might just do that. Thank you, Epimetheus. So Peru, this is very much, as we talk about a lot of these videos, especially shorter videos, like this is very superficial, but at the same time gives us an understanding. What do we learn today? We learned that Peru has had, several predecessors, even before the Incans, and then the Incans had just a short little, empire. They were obviously around prior, almost like a Rome city-state, but then would conquer, the Latin League and become their own empire eventually after the Republic. Very similar process here, a little bit quicker. A lot of border states, interesting, a lot of wars, the War of the Pacific and some other disputes and so forth. And then, of course, you have the 19th century, which is all about revolutions. Interesting stuff. Peru is a very specific use case for just a storied past, because if you look at every continent, the region of where Machu Picchu is and this little strip of land on the Pacific side, it is just probably more storied than any part of South America, more likely, just because of the proximity of those three possibilities of where people came from, either Panama, the coast, or Sea Baron. If it was up to me, I would probably say they probably went down the coast more likely than not. Like they just, went from Baja California down and so forth. Mostly probably people that were already settled in the Mexican region prior. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave me some video suggestions down below. If you're from Peru, hello. If you're from South America, hello. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out and bye-bye.